All right, guys, on this episode, I'm going to show you proof that your mind isn't what you think it is. Everyone thinks they know what their mind is. Everyone thinks they understand where their personality and their habits and things come from. I'm going to pull back the curtain here. I'm going to teach you on this episode exactly what the mind is, exactly why the mind is working the way it's working, and, of course, how to change it. All right, so why should you listen to me? This is Coach Mike Basevic. I'm the founder and creator of the Anxiety-Free Executive Program. For the last 18 years, I have spent it helping the highest performers on the planet eliminate anxiety, stress, depression, overwhelm, burnout, imposter syndrome, anything going on emotionally inside that they think is part of their DNA. It's not. And I eliminate it. And we don't manage it. We don't distract it. We don't drug it up like the doctors and the healthcare people with those prescription drugs. We get rid of it. All right, so here we go. So here, what is the mind? Now, first, what is the mind isn't? The mind isn't your brain. That's two different things, right? The brain is the switching station that literally governs your movement, your body, and so forth. But the brain and the body, for the most part, take direction from the mind. What is the mind? The mind is your awareness. It's essentially your being, right? So years ago, scientists tried to study where thoughts came from. The brain did not produce thoughts, but we all have thoughts. Those random thoughts at 3 a.m. about your to-do list, the pressures, the overwhelm, the fears, right? The catastrophe. Where do those thoughts come from? The thoughts come from your current state of being, and we've talked about that in our next episode. We're going to talk about that more. But the mind is essentially, your subconscious mind is your co-pilot. It's the non-physical version of you. And it's the all-knowing version of you, right? And its job, the mind's job, is to serve you. It's the awareness. It's your consciousness. It's that hunch that you should do something, or that thought, man, I'm thinking about this person. All of a sudden they call or make the call, and all of a sudden it's like, good thing you called. Here's why. That's what the mind is. The mind is literally the non-physical part of you, but it's the part of you that is there to serve you and is there to give you what you give it, okay? So everything that you fed this subconscious mind since you were in diapers, right? Through the experiences in your life, your parents, your upbringing, pressures, fears, failures, successes, everything that's good and or bad. And then just that daily rumination, dwelling and going over those things. You've been training your mind the entire time, okay? The mind is literally a servant. It is an employee. It's there to serve you. And think about a great employee. What's a great employee, right? They take direction. They give you feedback, and they perform the task. And that's exactly what the mind is. Everything you feed the mind, the mind's going to give it back to you. So think of any subject you want, whether it's a TV show you love, a specific car you might want to buy or get, or a car you love, or a person. The more you think about that subject, the more the mind's going to give you thoughts about that subject. If I said to you, and I use this example a lot, think of a red car all morning. Right? Google it. Think about it. Upstairs, look at images. When you go outside that day, the mind is going to show you every red car on the road. You're going to be alerted to it because that's the mind's job. The mind does not have an opinion. The subconscious does not have judgment. It becomes what you feed it. And then you experience what you gave your mind. So that's where your personality comes from. It comes from your beliefs, your perception, everything you've experienced. So you're in one way, shape, or form, or many ways, shape, or form, you're probably like one or both of your parents, or the complete opposite, right? So you see what you grew up with is like, no way, I'm going to be that. I'm going to be the opposite of that. So, but it's all learned behavior. And then when the experiences happen, especially those traumatic ones, they leave the biggest imprints. And people love labels, man. These healthcare professionals and therapists and things, and they're trying to do good work, but they love labels, man. They love all the ADD, ADHD. I did a call with somebody yesterday that, and he told me at least 17 times on our 45-minute call that he has ADD. He identifies with it. Where did the ADD come from? He taught his mind to be anxious. So what do the doctors do? Well, you've got ADD. Here's a drug, by the way, which don't help. Just, you could drink vodka and it's the same effect. It's just making you feel different, but it doesn't solve the problem. So your mind, look at your mind as this co-pilot with AI that is there to give you what you've given it your whole life. So everything that you are, your personality, your likes, your dislikes, your habits, your strengths, your weaknesses, your passions, all learned behavior. You saw something or you experienced something, say, I like that, I want more of that. And then, or you experience some pain and some suffering or divorce or even trauma in childhood. The Broken Sage, the first few chapters of my book, is literally about the conditioning that I went through as a child. And it wasn't like a woe is me deal when I talked about the beatings at home and the parents fighting and the chaos that was my life. And if you want to get that book and read it, it's really good. thebrokensage.com. But it's really powerful. And it's my story of complete collapse in life. But I gave people a glimpse into what my childhood was. It was all conditioned, learned behavior. So I had low self-esteem, no self-worth. Even though I was hardworking and successful as a young person, it was all this like veil, right? Because behind the scenes, I was an absolute mess in my mind and my body and my emotions. I had health issues as a young person. I was, pretty good shape and a strong guy. I was a weightlifter, and I would bust my ass to work out 6 days a week, but yet I had health problems, man. I was exhausted. I was fatigued. I had tingling in my hands, my face every day. I was stressed, overwhelmed. So I never felt like I deserved the success I was building. I always felt like a fraud. And that was conditioning of the mind. And if you read The Broken Sage, you'll see how that happened. And it's not a pity party. It's an understanding, like, this is what I went through. This is what I became. But the exciting news is I teach in the book how to become something new, as well as on this podcast. So it's really like a powerful understanding. So you're nothing more today than a perfect symphony of everything you've been through up to this point. And now you develop beliefs, you develop expectations in life. I worked with a crew recently of young people, man, 22 to 42, right? And an executive team. And they were all young, hungry professionals, some of it a little bit more seasoned than those 22-year-olds. But I said, of 15, 20 people on the call, I said, how many of you believe that life is easy? And no one raised their hand. And I said, how many of you believe that life is tough? And almost everybody raised their hand. And I thought, that's conditioning, man. And I said, I used to be that guy. He'd wait for the other shoe to drop. Peace felt suspicious. I couldn't trust peace. And I felt life was tough. I was taught life was tough and then you die. And nothing could be further than the truth. All right, this life could be easy. Yeah, we're always have challenges. Every week of my life, and we've got challenges, business, whatever, right? You're never going to be challenge-free, man. As long as you're striving to do something, be something, have something, you're going to have challenges, right? But the mind literally is going to do what you've trained to do. So if you keep reinforcing that life is tough, that you're unlucky, and all the bullshit that people tell themselves every day, right? I'm stressed. What are you stressed about? Well, I've got this move coming up, or I've got this trip coming up, and I've got this marriage I'm planning, or I got whatever. And it's like, okay, what is stressful about that? I spoke to somebody yesterday. They moved into a $4 million house, dream house, right, that they had built. And I said, well, he goes, well, my wife's stressed. I said, really? Why? Well, the moves, there's boxes. I'm like, the boxes are caused. But think about it. But that's what humans do. No fault to her, but that's what we do as humans. We attach a label to everything. I'm stressed. I'm overwhelmed. When I get through this, it's going to be good. Well, how many things have you had to get through before you think that you're going to feel good and you never do? It's because you've trained your mind. You're not your mind. And here's a really big key understanding in this episode, right? You are not your mind. You are experiencing what you've trained your mind to be. Let me repeat that. You are not your mind. You are experiencing what you've trained your mind to be. So you think about it. The mind is a machine, right? If you use your car, you're not your car. You use your car to point A to point B, but then you get out of your car, you used it. AI. Many people are using AI. It's very similar to the mind. You ask AI a question, it gives you the feedback, and you develop a little bit of a relationship with the AI that you're using. They know you. They know your patterns. They know everything you've ever taught them. They know. And they know your habits, your personality. It's the same thing the mind is. Your mind is a machine that's been trained and developed. So thinking this is an example I've used in other episodes, but it's the simplest example I can think of. Think about how we speak English. You could tell by my accent that I'm probably from the Midwest in Chicago, and that's where I'm from. But if I was born in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, I speak with cool Southern drawl. Those guys talk a lot cooler than I do. I have Australian clients. They speak the same language, but they've got the Australian accent. I've got somebody from South Africa on my team, English, but different version of it, and British, right? England, British accent. So why? Well, none of us went to a specific school to learn the accent or the way we speak English. We just picked it up along with everything else. If your dad was a mean cuss and just miserable like my dad was, no offense, rest in peace, but you're going to maybe pick up those habits. My dad had a vicious temper. And early on in my life, I had a vicious temper. And I didn't like it. And I thought, well, that's it. I just got a bad temper. Where the hell did that come from? Watching the vicious temper as I grew up, right? And no offense to my parents, but they were Hall of Fame fighters. There was no love in our house. So what did I was always on eggshells. I was always afraid. And even as an adult, I remember when there was tension around, I would always try to bring humor. I'd always try to distract it. And sometimes I felt, even if it had nothing to do with me, I felt it was my fault. Why? Because that's the way I was trained. That's the way the machine, my mind was trained. So, and I'm going to say this, and if you have no exposure to my work or my book or any of my teachings, this is going to be tough for you to understand. We identify when we have anxiety. We identify with the shyness or the public speaking fears or all the stuff that we say, I'm just not a good public speaker. I'm not comfortable walking into a room full of people. I like to blend in. I like to, that's just me. I'm an introvert. Most people are introverts, but that's the way their mind has been trained. So we identify with that problem. And when we have a problem, here's a great example. When we have a problem, it's emotional and it's really tough to deal with. But if you have an employee, a colleague, a family member, or a friend that has a problem, it's not yours, you've got really clear, concise advice for them, don't you? Because you're not emotional about it. We identify with our problems like I used to, right? When you read the Broken Sage chapter 4, man, it's pretty deep and dark, man. Like the shit that I was living. But it wasn't me. Like I decided in chapter 5, like, oh my God, it was literally the way my mind was trained. I was taught, man, that you're here to learn lessons. You're here to get beat on. You're here to, and I'm like, well, why doesn't that person have the same painful lessons? Why can they skate through life? Why can they have a great relationship? Why can they have an abundant financial picture? And there I am struggling. I'll get out. It was all my mind. It was the way I was trained. So you've got to look at it like, look back at your life. Tell me I'm lying. Everything you are today is a perfect byproduct of everything you've been through. And those emotional experiences leave a bigger imprint, right? Think of 9/11. If you're old enough to remember 9/11, you know where you were, right? If I asked you where you were last month on the 11th, you'd have to look at your calendar, right? And that's another example I use a lot because there's no better examples. And you remember everything because it was an emotional event, 9/11, for everybody that witnessed it or experienced it. So any great event, any traumatic event, you're going to remember, but the traumatic events leave a deep emotional imprint into your subconscious. And then when you experience something emotional, think about this, you've all been there, the mind keeps replaying it. Then you keep revisiting it. It's replaying it, you revisit it, you talk about it, you phone a friend about it, you journal about it, you Google about it. And all the while, you're giving the machine more direction to give you more of it. That's why worry can turn into a panic attack. You start with a couple, stress and worry, day after day, week after week, month after month, and now you've trained your mind to worry. And then you keep pulling on the thread of the thoughts. Now that you're in that state of being, right, because that's creating it all. And I've done episodes on that, and we're going to do another episode on the state of being coming up. But it's a powerful understanding. The state of being you're in is the thoughts you're going to experience, the emotions you're going to experience, the beliefs, the expectations, and actions or inactions. So anyone that's in a state of being of fear or even afraid to make a mistake, they're going to procrastinate. And then they think it's like them, and it's not. It's a state of being that's preventing you from doing it. But if you're in a state of being of worry, then stress, then fear, that's going to lead to eventual panic attacks because it just gets stronger every time you keep feeding the mind. And the mind isn't doing this to harm you or make it destructive. It's doing it because that's what you've asked it to do. You didn't do it on purpose. You didn't ask it on purpose. And take this as power, not an indictment that you did anything wrong. I lived my childhood, and all the mistakes I made as a young adult, stupid ass. I was living in what I call emotional resistance. So I made a ton of dumb decisions, stupid mistakes, and things that I would never do, but I did back then. It was all a product of the personality that I developed, the habits, the states of being that I was in. So every day was a struggle in one way, shape, or form. Even though I was living a somewhat successful, opulent, happy life on the outside, I just never felt it on the inside because my mind was trained a different way. And that's why I self-sabotage. So all the money I made, all the relationships I had, I self-sabotaged a lot of them because that was me. I didn't believe I deserved them. All of that is a byproduct of the subconscious mind. Now, the state of being you're in is an energetic state. All the self-help books out there and all the self-help sages and teachers and I hate to call them sages, but the gurus, right? The gurus. All the gurus tell you that, hey, there's a law out there. It's an energy law. They call it the law of attraction. And there is. I call it the law of vibration because it's a law and it's a vibrating law. It's energy. Your energy, I'm energy. There's no, the open space in this office here. It's all energy. But it's your state of being that creates this, that ignites this law. It's really a simple process. It's not something that you have to fight to experience, man. When you're in a state of being of flow, when you're in the zone, what I call acceptance, now you're in a state of being that's in harmony with what you want. Now think of any sporting event you've watched. The World Cup's going on right now. But any sporting event, all of a sudden there's a big momentum shift. I remember watching the Falcons and the Patriots play. I think it was like 2017 or 18 in the Super Bowl. And halftime, 28-3 or something like that, Atlanta had them all dead and buried. And all of a sudden, Patriots came out, different energy. They were in the zone, right? The momentum switch. So what is momentum? Momentum means that everything that was going so bad for one team starts to go well, and then they flip the script. It's energy. So everything you've trained your mind to be, it will be. So if you're in that resistant energy to things that don't feel good, you're going to experience it in your thoughts and emotions and actions and inactions and results. And if you're in a state of being of flow, you're going to experience the opposite. So when you're in that state of being of peace, right, happiness, what I call acceptance, you're going to experience all that. But the key understanding is you've got to differentiate between what you are, which is an unlimited being that can have anything you want in this world, and what you're experiencing. And the reason you're experiencing things like anxiety, stress, burnout, it's not your current circumstances, man. Everyone's addicted to their current shit. They think it's this and that. Now, if you got something important going on, like a health issue or a family health issue, I get it, man. That can get you twisted inside out. And this is never about ignoring what you have going on in your life. This is all about awareness. You're going to be more aware of what you have going on in your life forever, but you've got to understand, I've had a hand in creating this. Okay, that's power. It's not an indictment. It's power. And when I learned this almost 20 years ago, I got excited. At first I was pissed. Why anybody teach me this stuff? And I described that process in The Broken Sage. But then I thought, this is powerful. Because I knew it made sense. Everything I believed, everything I expected, all learned behavior, every belief you hold, you think it's rigid, you think it's absolute, it's just learned. It's a repetitive series of thoughts that you've trained your mind to believe, and it becomes a belief, a paradigm, how you see the world, right? Your paradigms are all learned behavior. It's not who you are. It's not in your DNA. It's all learned behavior. So the understanding there to me is like, yeah, no wonder I created this shitstorm in my life. But I got excited. Like, man, if I could create that, then how do I? But I had to learn the process to getting to that place. That's what I teach all my clients. That's where hopefully we're going to continue to teach you on this podcast. So you've got to be aware and just got to pay attention to what the mind is doing and become unemotional. If your car service engine light goes on or low gas light goes on, you don't feel it's your problem. You probably didn't do anything wrong to create that service engine light or the gas light for sure. You just got to get it fixed. And that's how I want you to look at your mind. All right, I keep having these repetitive thoughts. I keep having this temper. I keep having this fear, the anxiety. And I'll tell you a pretty cool story that happened over the weekend, or within the last week. But it's all your state of being. It's all learned behavior. And it's all the mind doing what you trained it to do. You've got to differentiate yourself. You got to distance yourself from, or just disconnect from what the mind is giving you. It's not you. You don't have a disorder. You don't have a label. It's what you are experiencing because of what you fed your mind. And cool story. So one of my clients, young Aiden, and I'm going to have him on an episode pretty soon with his parents. And they're going to share the story. It's really cool. But Aiden, 22-year-old senior, going to be a senior in college last year, he had a lifetime of anxiety. and learned how to worry. Mom had, wonderful family, but mom learned how to be anxious. Mom's always worried about the kids type stuff, right? You can relate, and great mom, great dad. And, but then Aiden had a peanut allergy as a kid. He was always worried if he ever went out to a restaurant, he would freak out if they had used peanut. And he never really had an episode, but he was always afraid to have it. I think he had one a little scare early on, but he was always afraid. Every day living in fear of the allergy, or living in fear. And he's an athlete, tremendous golfer. But he kept worrying, obsessing every day about this stuff. Then he had a traumatic car accident when he was 15, and he's okay, broke some ribs. His buddies got banged up real good, but everybody was okay. But it was a traumatic experience. They worried about that every time he's in a car. You get it, right? The experiences and the rumination create what we are. So Aiden had a panic attack. They're members at Oakmont, and he had a panic attack last year in August on the 6th hole at Oakmont. And he had panic attacks before, but this one froze him in his tracks. He couldn't move. He thought he was going to die. So Pro Shop came out, picked him up, got him back to the clubhouse. Parents picked him up, took him home. He didn't leave his bedroom for 3 weeks, and he didn't leave his house for 3 months. And they reached out to me through a doctor in Pittsburgh that knew me and knows my work. And they said, you got to call Coach Mike. And so I did a Zoom call with Aiden and his parents. And I said, yeah, Aiden, if you're committed, we're going to get you healthy. We're going to get rid of the anxiety. And they looked at me like I was an alien. I said, guys, it's learned behavior. Put your faith in me. And it took a while with Aiden because he was so afraid. And he's a smart kid. But bottom line is, within about 4 months, Aiden was back living life. Started slowly, leaving his house, but we were changing his mind the entire time. I was teaching him how to bring your mind to a new place, how to get rid of the virus of resistance, emotional resistance that just keeps creating these panic attacks and stuff. And not to believe your mind. Remember, the mind is a machine running. So if you're in resistance, you're going to have thoughts, feelings, that continual thoughts and feelings barraging you. It's the mind doing that to you. But you think it's your current circumstance. Like Aiden thought, we tried to go to a restaurant one night, he wouldn't do it. We tried, because I spent some personal time with him. And eventually, the more we kept, essentially transforming his mind, bringing him to a different state, it got better and better. So you flash forward now a few months, and he's just living a dream. He's playing golf now 6-7 days a week. Anxiety is at a level 1, 2. It comes up a little bit out of habit, but he knows exactly what to do about it. And he's dating. He goes to restaurants all the time. And he went to a concert last night. He and his mom sent me this picture. They're at the concert. He's living life again. Well, last week, Aiden sent me a picture, and he got his first hole in whatever. It was on hole 6 at Oakmont, the same hole that they had to pick him up from last August that he couldn't finish. That's how the mind works. That's how powerful the mind is. So here's the understanding, folks. I want you to have 2 of them today. Number 1 is you're not your mind. You're the user of your mind. You're not your car. You use your car, right? And when the service engine light goes on, you don't get emotional about that. You just fix it. That's how I want you to look at the mind now. Is okay. I'm experiencing these things not because of the stress levels at work, not because I'm waiting, because you're always going to have shit. You're always going to have something that you feel I need to stress about. Look what you were stressed about 6 months ago. That passed. And now, and again, you're getting some stuff in life that happens that's pretty serious about illnesses and things. But in my case, it was all financial, but it was all learned behavior. And once you understand that you're not your mind, that's huge. Don't believe a mind in resistance either. When you're in panic, any emotional resistance doesn't feel well. The mind sends story. That's why people catastrophize. Middle of the night, they fear everything. And the second understanding is we can bring your mind to absolutely any place you want it to be. You're not a great public speaker. My biggest fear in life was public speaking back then. I hated it, man. I'd get all worked up and tense and nervous and butterflies and red-faced. Now I do it for a living. I absolutely love it. Well, how did that change? That changed my mind. You want to sleep better at night? Stop drugging yourself up. Stop the gummies. It's all bullshit. Teach the mind to be calm. You'll sleep like a baby, like all my clients do. Everyone that comes into my program and doesn't sleep within 3 weeks, I get them sleeping. But it's a powerful understanding. The mind will do whatever you train it to do, just like AI. So an AI has this understanding, this knowledge, so does your mind. All right, so that's where the work needs to be done. All right, in an upcoming episode, we're going to teach you a process that I call acceptance that's really powerful. But for now, start to be aware. of what your mind is doing and understand, like, okay, I must have trained my mind to believe this way. And you'll know where it came from. And stop the bullshit about finding out why it happened or how it happened. And keep going back into your childhood, man. Can you imagine, like, if you read The Broken Sage, which many of you have, if I kept one foot in that past and all the bullshit I went through, I'd still be there because I'd be revisiting every day. So my mind's going to give me more of it. You got to make peace with that shit. And to transform, you've got to change your mind. All right, guys, hopefully you like this episode. If you did like this episode, you better hit the like button and share button and subscribe button and share it with anyone you feel is going to like this. And of course, for anyone that says, all right, I like this guy, I think he's not full of shit. I think everybody's skeptical, by the way. They can watch all kinds of stuff on me and they can see the thousands of testimonial stories we have. It's like, yeah, I don't know if you can get me healthy. That's because your mind believes that. It's a bullshit story. Yeah, we can. So if you want my help, you want to get it right the first time and my team's help, then you just click the button below. It's nolimitsnation.com/book, B-O-O-K. And that means you can book a breakthrough call with us. And we'll talk about what you're going through. We'll talk about what you want to live. And we'll tell you the process and how we get there. If it's a good fit. If it's not a good fit, we might say, hey, read the book or try this thing or whatever. But you'll find the answers of what you're looking for. All right, guys. Coach Mike here signing out. We'll see you on the next episode.